This program is brought to you in part by SalCal Real Estate Connections. Yes, good evening from Racing Action Today. We're here today at the Nutmeg station with a very special guest of honor and privilege for me to introduce to you Tyler Alkas, SK Modified Light driver and one of the young guns, I like to say. Tyler, I have known you quite a while, and I got to ask you some quick questions. Tell me, how did you get involved how did you get started driving a race car?
I was about like 3 or 4, and I had all the power wheels and everything else, and they couldn't keep me off of them. Then my grandfather came home with a go-kart one day, and he let me sit in the lap and steer, and just from there I just picked it up.
Yep.
And just went from there. Really started in the go-karts and just kept moving my way up.
I got to tell you a story. When I used to go by the house, your grandfather's house, I would see this little chubby kid. I don't know if it was a tricycle or a bicycle. They were racing around the house. And I said, wow. I said, the Alkas family is alive and well. Now tell me, you remember those days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the core memories of my life so far. It was definitely fun, We had the power wheels and we had the go-karts, and
yeah.
Once I was able to reach the pedals, they couldn't keep me off that thing.
Oh, I could imagine. Because I remember we did go to some of your events at the go-kart track. You did some go-kart racing. I don't know if you ever did quarter midget. Did you ever do that?
Nope, never did quarter midget.
Okay, never did that. But I remember you in the go-kart, and you look like you had some pretty good success with this, huh?
Yeah, with the go-karts, it was really good. Started off at like 5. We won a lot of races there.
Yeah.
I think we had like 4 or 5 championships-ish around there. And I raced, I think, 6 years in those, and had a lot of wins.
Now,
got a lot of
was
trophies.
that the Nutmeg Kart Association? Is that what that is?
It was the Nutmeg Kart Club. Mm-hmm. It still is, actually.
Yep.
NKA, I believe, is like the big association for all the go-karts.
Yeah, oversees it.
Yeah, but it was like NKA rules, but yeah, it was Nutmeg Kart Club.
And so you did that for about 6 years?
Yep.
Wow. I mean, you were pretty good at it. I was watching. Let me tell you, you looked like you were ready to roll here, huh?
Yeah.
Now, dirt track racing is a lot different than asphalt, right?
Yeah, the car definitely slides out on you more. Definitely a lot less traction than you do on asphalt.
Yep.
And a lot less horsepower obviously I had a lot less horsepower than I do now.
Yeah. Now, back in those days, who was the crew chief?
It was my dad and my grandfather. My dad would build the motors.
Yeah.
And set up the car. And, my grandfather would just always go to the track, tow it there, help it out. Mm-hmm. And just help us out and everything else.
Well, we have to talk about the patriarch, I call him, of the family, Uncle Dave. He started this whole thing, driving that novice car at Plainville Stadium. He became 5-time champion, and between your grandfather, his brother, Fred, and then, of course, your father come along, the racing in your family is really rich, let me tell you. The history goes back a long way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm a 3rd-generation driver. I've heard stories about how my Uncle Dave and my grandfather, they both dominated at Plainville Stadium and Riverside Park, and I wish I was there to witness it. And then even my Uncle George, before he passed, was pretty good too, I heard. And
sure.
I wish I could see it and stuff, but I definitely seen some old videos and pictures.
When you think back, there was Uncle Ed, who was, Dave's brother, your uncle, and Uncle George. Ed actually built the car and had Ronnie Wyckoff drive it, and of course Dave had his own car. I mean, it was really an interesting episode with them, let me tell you.
Yeah, it was, back then, I guess it was every man for themselves. It's definitely every man for themselves. My grandfather had a car. Uncle Dave had a car.
Yep.
George had a car. Everyone had a car.
They even, at one point, had women involved driving these cars. Now tell me, you made the move from go-kart racing up to
Bandoleros,
which explain to me, what is a bandolero?
So a bandolero is like a smaller version of like a late model kind of. Not really. It's like a bigger version of a go-kart. It's a chassis. It's all bodied in. It looks kind of like a late model kind of. Got front and rear bumpers, and you got the motor in the rear. But there's no clutch or no transmission or anything.
What kind of motor do they have?
I believe it was like a 30 horsepower Briggs & Stratton motor. Which is a lot different than the 350 horsepower I have now.
Now tell me, those bandoleros, everything has to be the spec. The motor got to be a certain way. You got to use a certain tire, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of rules.
Tell me, how long did you do that?
I did that from I was about, I think I was 10 and a half I started. We got the Bandolero, and we started racing. In second year, I think we got 3 wins overall in that division. I think I was in it for 3 years, and until I was about 13. So we did that for 3 years, and like you said, like the specs, everything's got to be par. The motor has to be sealed; it can't be tampered with.
Now, Bandolero, though, that was asphalt racing, right?
Yep.
That was not dirt.
Nope, no dirt.
Okay. And were they pretty fast?
Not really. They'd go about like 60-ish.
Oh, yeah.
Like 60, but the track I raced at, you just put the throttle to the floor and you just held it wide open all the way around, lap after lap.
Wow.
There's no lifting or anything.
So how long did you do Bandolero racing?
3 years.
Oh, wow, that's
Did it
pretty
for 3
good.
years.
Now, from there, then you started talking about a modified?
Yep.
How old were you then?
I think I was like 14.
Oh, wow.
14, like the end of the year when I turned 14, we were looking for a modified, and we finally got a good deal on when we got it. And then the next year we went, when I turned 15, we went and we raced at the Waterford Speed Bowl with it. And first practice we went out there, and it was pretty quick. And it was definitely a great learning experience, learning how to shift and everything else.
Oh, wow. And so, I mean, to race one of these SK light cars, this is not an easy thing. Am I thinking right?
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. It's definitely challenging, especially with the amount of competition there is out there nowadays.
Yeah, I have to congratulate you. You did have a win your first season, and I know this season has not been fun for you.
No, definitely hasn't. Had a lot of bad luck this year.
So you're encountering, you get track crashes and
crashes.
And of course, racing where you're racing, which is Stafford, right?
Stafford Motor Speedway, yep.
When you wreck at Stafford, let me tell you, it's not a cheap affair because you're going pretty fast. Am I thinking right?
Yeah, I think we're around like 106 there, going 106.
Oh yeah, wow.
106, 107, maybe faster sometimes.
So you started racing this, this light car. At that time, what was the chassis then?
We had Spafco race chassis. Kenny Berry builds the cars. We got it a couple years ago, and we just put it together. Kenny's always helped us out with anything we need. So it was a no-brainer to go Spafco, and the thing came out pretty fast. So we were learning the car for a couple years. When my dad was driving, he was learning the car, and then once I got it, it was just go for it.
I'll tell you right now, your Uncle Dave gotta had a smile on his face the day you got in that car. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, he probably did.
Carried it on to the tradition, the number of the car, number 89. He has to be in cloud 9 seeing you guys race. I'll tell you right now. Of course, Aunt Paul helps too, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're like probably one of my biggest supporters, and they have been for the past couple of years since I started racing the modifieds. And I think he enjoys watching us out there, especially in the modified and all the new updates and everything. He stops by the garage a lot and checks in on us, and and everything else. It's just cool.
Now I got to ask you something. When you went from Bandoleros to this SK Light, which, first of all, we better explain to people, what does SK Light mean? Let's explain that to them.
Okay, so an SK Light, is a version of a modified that does not have much horsepower. So the SK modified is the bigger version. Well, they're the same size car, same chassis, same everything. They're allowed to spend more money on certain things like the shocks, and they have different rules than us.
Yep.
And they have bigger motors, which allow them to go faster. So then what they did was they came out with like a kind of not really a beginner division, but kind of like working your way up to the SK division
Okay.
called SK Lights, which I believe we have 350 horsepower, and it's a more like budget division if you build the car than SK, because you're allowed to do a lot more things. And the SK, I believe, has like over 450 horsepower, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Which,
Now tell me, beside getting the car special to do what you do, was there anything you had to do special to become a driver? Did they make you take some kind of a test or course or anything like that?
no, I didn't really have to take any tests or anything. I mean, I feel like you start off when you're young and they watch you all the way up through, and then when you go and apply for your license for the track to drive in their division, they watch you and then they tell you like yay or nay, but they're always watching. If you do something dumb, they're gonna penalize you for it.
Yep.
And sometimes it can be big penalties, sometimes it can't, and yeah.
Now, this is your second year driving the car?
Third year in the SK Lights, second year at Stafford.
Okay. I mean, Stafford was really a big jump to go from a smaller racetrack. Am I thinking right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like pretty much same with the car, just a little bit faster, bigger track, definitely a lot more competition, and it takes a lot more precise passing and everything else. You got to hit your marks good.
Now, tell me something. During this process of learning how to get this car to go, who helped you the most when it came to learning how to drive the car?
Definitely either my dad and then some of my friends who were in it previously. They gave me some pointers, but definitely my dad was a big one. Helped me out, like told me what you got to do. He was on the radio with me the first time I was out there, so he was telling me like where you got to run and how to shift and everything else.
Yep. You have to learn the groove in the track, right?
Yep.
And of course, tires played a big role. I'm sure, right?
Yeah. This year there's a tire shortage, so you're only allowed one tire a week and sometimes two. But if you don't have, your car's not as fast as it is when you have 4 brand new tires on it.
Yep.
So the tire rotation is like every 3 weeks you put 3 tires on because the left front doesn't really get used.
Yep.
And you just go from there. And the first and second week are the fastest, and the third week you kind of fall off a little bit, but the car's still quick.
Now tell me something. You're saying, these tires, what do they cost? Do you have any idea what they cost?
It used to be like $150 a tire, but now since inflation stuff, I believe it's like $233 a tire.
For one tire?
For one tire.
Oh my dear, wow.
Yeah,
This
crazy
is not
nowadays.
a cheap affair.
Nope, not a cheap sport at all.
And when you've been doing this, have you been getting help from other people?
Yeah,
Sponsor-wise?
Yep, I just want to give a quick shout out to all my sponsors, my Uncle Dave, Aunt Paula, Air Gas and Pete. They helped out a lot this year. AccuLift, Spafco Race Chassis, Gothic Stone and Granite, Ferndale Construction, TNT Complete Landscaping, Jason Reed Panetta, AJ Tool, Daveco, Avery Soda, DePietro Tire Service. And I also want to give a thanks to my grandfather, grandmother, dad, mom, sister, and Steve Scheid for coming to the track and always helping and supporting me.
Now they are, you got to have sponsors here because you certainly cannot weather all this alone, right?
Yeah, it definitely helps out to have sponsors because paying for everything yourself, it definitely hurts. But if you have sponsors, it goes a long way because they help you and you could help them also.
Yes. Now I got to ask you one more question about driving. Where do you want to bring this, Tyler? Where do you want this to bring you?
Obviously, the right answer of it is it's definitely NASCAR. But to get there, you're gonna have a lot of sponsorship. But hopefully, in a couple years, I can move it to SK Modifieds and continue racing. And then say things don't work out. I love working on the race cars, and I like watching racing as a whole. So I would definitely try to be interested in working on a NASCAR team one day.
Okay, so So beside driving the car, building the car is another big part of this. And now they have the modified tour, which is that the highest level of modified you could get into?
Yeah, yep. The Wheel and Tour is definitely the highest modified level around here. I mean, I don't think there's anything else anywhere else like it. It's the best of the best, always competing.
I mean, literally, they're up and down the East Coast, right?
Yep.
Races are
East
all
Coast,
up and down the East Coast.
I think they went to, this year they went to Richmond. They've been to Richmond. They're going to go to Martinsville. Mm-hmm. So they go to some NASCAR tracks, and they're up here around Stafford and tracks all the way up towards Maine.
Now, to compete in that arena, that car is really not a cheap car. Am I thinking right?
Yeah, the wheeling cars are big bucks. Definitely very expensive.
A motor alone in a car like that, you may be looking at $50,000. I don't know, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're around that. They're probably like anywhere from 30 to 50. That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
definitely.
Wow. So, to go to each step is always going to be a little more money for a better car, And the other question I kind of wanted to ask you, do you like any other different kind of racing besides this oval track racing?
Yeah, I like to watch a lot of, obviously, Cup stuff. I like to watch F1. I really enjoy that. Dirt racing I really like. I like watching Kyle Larson, all them guys race on dirt, throwing sliders. I like dirt midgets. I like the with the Rolex 24, those road course cars with the Porsches, the Lambos, Ferraris.
Yeah, Ferraris and
the Daytona
road
prototypes.
racing, believe it or not, is one of my favorite things. At Lime Rock Park, I love the place. I'm not going to kid you.
You go there often?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I bet. I haven't been there. I'll definitely want to go soon.
And, of course, recently I've been involved in an event called Grid Life, which they have more of the foreign car intent like the Asian cars and stuff. And it's hard to believe how good they get those cars to go around that racetrack. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes a lot of setup and everything else. I mean, they have the best of the best engineers and everything over there, so something cool. Like, see Toyota, like the Toyota's out on track, Lexus. Actually, I don't know about Lexus, but like Toyota, all the Japanese cars. And
Hondas and Acuras, and I mean, you name it. One of the things that interests me the most, they have a class. You're going to laugh when I tell you this. They have a class they call Sunday Cup, which I was really unaware of. And I went to Lime Rock, and so I'm witnessing a race. And what they are, there's certain cars like a Honda Fit, Mazda 2, these little cars. Anyway, they go out and race wheel to wheel. And they're not professionals. They're like I jump in the car. I actually am teasing my wife to put her in one of these cars. That's how much I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, I bet.
And they go to all the best racetracks in the country on top of it.
That's crazy.
That's
awesome.
Would ever thought of that, right?
No, that's like the Mazda Miatas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, it's really, I got so into it. I couldn't believe. And these Honda Fit, you know what that is?
Just like a small Honda.
It looks like a station wagon or something you would bring to the grocery store or something. They get them to handle, and they were really fun to watch, I'll tell you. So someday you think you're going to maybe try to venture in an area like that?
If I ever get the opportunity and someone wants me to drive the car, obviously I'll take it. It sounds like really fun, but I like racing the go-karts on the road course and stuff like that, like around here, but if I get the opportunity, I'll definitely try it.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with trying something different, and then beside that, you mentioned dirt racing. There's it's very big in the South, the Southeast.
California.
And California.
And like Indiana, I believe, is a big one. Indiana, California. I'm trying to think what else is down there. There's another big one. Oklahoma.
Yeah. I used to go to Lebanon Valley to watch the World of Outlaw cars I'm like Steve Kenzer and them people. I mean, they were just phenomenal.
Yeah, those things are really fast.
Oh, my dear. Yeah, I had no clue they were that fast. I mean, talk about being fast.
Yeah,
Wow. And, of course, they have different types of cars, too. They have, they have the wing sprint cars or the regular sprint cars.
Yeah, wing sprint cars, non-wing sprint cars, dirt late models, dirt super late models, dirt midgets.
I was really saddened a few years back. There was this little racetrack up in Massachusetts called Whip City, and they were racing little wing sprint cars. It was really a fun thing. I mean, small track, but like everything else, they go away. The land becomes more valuable than to race, and which is not a good thing, The sprint car racing has always had my attention, along with the Indianapolis, which is completely different now too. I mean, even for you, as a kid growing up, when you said Indy car, you pictured this roadster front engine, right?
I'm trying to think. I believe Indy cars when I was a kid, it still had the rear engine behind you, I'm pretty sure.
They still, I thought they didn't have one, but well, they might have. Yeah. You're young. Yeah, you're right. You could have them there. But when I was growing up, there was front engine cars, and we didn't have all this business with rear engine, this and that. And I mean, them cars are so high tech that it's just beyond the steering wheel in the car is probably $1 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those steering wheels they have in the F1 cars, they could do a lot of things.
Oh boy, an F1, that's another world entirely.
Yeah, it's like $15 million a car.
But I can't believe how good they drive the cars. I mean, very seldom you see any slam bang, I'll tell you.
Yeah, if you think about it, there's a lot of rules in F1. Like you can't touch tires, or else that's a penalty. And I think that also promotes a lot of clean driving up in that level.
You know what surprised me? To tell you the truth, Tyler, was they have tires in a race at 3 different thickness, three different softness.
Yeah.
Whoever thought? When did you ever think you would be able to pick a tire that's softer than the other? During a race, no less.
That's crazy. And there's I think there's 5 of them too, because you have 3 different type of rain tires. Then you have hard, mediums, and softs, normal tires. So it's 6 different types of tires.
I mean, it's hard to believe. The technology here has just gone through the roof, Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yep. And so now, tell me about your season. How long do you have before your season is over?
We got 3 races left. We started off the year with a wreck, and the second race we drove from 31st to 15th, which is really good. Mm-hmm. Third race, I went from 11th to 10th in a 40-lap race, which is extra distance, extra money, so that was good. Then after that, bad luck started hitting for the next 2 races. I went from 2nd to 9th, and then my rev limiter broke, which basically means the car can't rev up as high as it should, so I'm not getting the full maximum RPMs.
Yep.
So that race I went from 5th to finish 17th.
Wow.
But after that, we figured everything out, and that race the next race started 2nd. Was running 2nd for a long time. A couple laps ago, I got passed, and I ended up finishing 3rd, which was definitely a really good highlight of the season so far.
Now, who's your biggest nemesis in this class?
Oh,
who gives you the toughest competition?
I don't really know. There's a lot of really good drivers.
Oh, there is.
There's a lot of really good drivers out there, and everyone has the right to be out there, and everyone.
So they pretty much when you could beat them, you're doing something, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of good guys, and after that, we finished 7th, 13th, 10th. Then we got wrecked in a 40-lapper under yellow, and then the next race I led 17 laps, finished 5th. And then the race after that, I ended up getting involved in a wreck with 3 to go. I was running 3rd and got in a wreck and ended up getting a concussion, so I was out for a couple weeks.
Oh, wow, concussion is not good.
No.
And Well, we're certainly going to try to get out to see you. And I believe you say you got 3 more weeks of this?
Yep, so we have an off week this week, Friday, and then next Friday there's a race, and then there's a race on the same week on Saturday, and then the following week on Friday is the final race of the year.
Wow. Coming up quick, huh?
Yep.
And
I hate to see it go.
You guys, the car ready? Is the car ready?
Car's back together. It's ready to go. So hopefully we could try to get a win these last 3 races.
Well, I hope so too. I want to wish you luck. You've been great tonight here, talking with us, and we're going to do a little more with you in the future. I want to talk about some other things, about your car and stuff. And I really want to thank you for being with here tonight. And hopefully we'll get to see a race before the end of the year and have some fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I want to thank you, the viewers, for tuning in on Racing Action today as we will end tonight's show. And please tune in again next week at the same time. Thank you. This program is brought to you in part by Just Results Weight Loss Center in Berlin, Connecticut.
Nick Augustino right here at the East Side Restaurant. We always have the complete full dinner menu. Knockwurst, bratwurst, sauerbraten, potato pancakes, red cabbage, rice pudding, cream pies, all the desserts that Germany had to offer. I always do something different. Yes, I do. I brought seafood to the beer garden at the East Side Restaurant. East Side Restaurant, your German destination restaurant in Connecticut. Tiki-taka, hoy, hoy, hoy!
I'm your host, Kurt Barwis. Today, I have a very special guest, Dr. Andrew Lynn.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. My name's Chuck Wooden.
Decision for ourselves for this week, if we want to be made well.
Hi, welcome to the crack of dawn. It's Dawn Lombardi. I'm starting the painting. It's going to be the cliffs with some water. Love it.
He took me on the sets of Lost in Space, Batman.
Everybody has a story. What's yours? Until next time.